Today I want to talk about site analysis. Now, site analysis is a vast topic. There are hundreds of things that you have to check on site in order to ensure that your building takes into consideration all the aspects around site. I mean, from the ecological impact all the way to the geotechnical impact, the type of soil, the slopes, the contour lines, the orientation, the views, the wind speed, any elements that cast shadow, so on and so forth. Today I'm going to talk about the orientation, because I believe orientation, if you miss it, it's one of the major elements that architects misuse or disregard when they do their design. And it's not really just about missing an energy issue. It's about missing the opportunity to capture a good concept, because then when you deprive your design of the aesthetic element, which is related to comfort, to quality of spaces, to sun path and all that, then this is part of, how creative you are, or how not creative you have been. So let me go to the sketching pad and I will show you a little brief about the impact of site analysis on capturing good concept from one side, but also to create a green and attractive building. Let's go there. So I'll start by showing what I mean by sun path and how we can utilize sun path in order to create a good design concept, and also to create an efficient and aesthetically pleasing building. As you know, the sun has a certain path. I mean, this is a metaphor. Actually, it's the earth that has a position towards the sun, not the other way around. We are trying to capture the concept in a way that makes it easy for us to understand what's going on. So as you can see here, the sun rises from the east and sun sets from the west. And there are two major sun paths the sun takes vis-a-vis your building. One is through the summer and one is through the winter, and this is the winter and this is the summer. So the sun path actually impacts the amount of shadows that the building creates. As you can see, the midday shadow in winter, the midday shadow is in summer, and this would be much less in terms of sun path shadow than this one. If you're designing a house with a backyard, and the backyard happens in the winter time, which is very important, to be completely in shade, then how can you have captured a good design concept after the fact, when the end users, when the family realizes that they're unable to use the garden or the backyard for their facility? So as you can see, those are the two sun paths that I would like to touch upon very quickly. It's not important now to calculate the angles, but there are tools in SketchUp, in Revit, in other softwares that can really help you a lot in designing the overhangs and the angles, and how much you want to get into the building and how much do you want to repel from the building. Because in the summer, the sun would be too hot to let in all the time, that it will increase the temperature inside your spaces, and then you have to mechanically get rid of the of that extra heat that will be quite annoying and creating discomfort. This is a study that I did in which I wanted to change the orientation of the building from this location to this location. And as you can see, I've captured that here to increase the exposure to the sun during the wintertime and minimize it during the summertime. So let me recap that. Let me call that first, and this is the second and optimized solution. So in this site, theoretically, there is a potential of either placing the building this way, as in option number 1, or in option number 2. Since I was designing a building that is existing, so number 1 was an existing case. So what I've suggested in the design, we should turn that 90 degrees, as you can see here in number 3, this one, in order to maximize the energy efficiency of the building. In the top, I'll call it number 4, this is an optimized orientation study done in Ecotect, upon which I reached the solution in number 2 to change the orientation of the building such that it becomes along the east-west line, a geographic line, and that will maximize the exposure of the building to the south while leaving the other side, longer side, to the north and minimizing the bad impact, the east and the west. As you can see here, north, so this is east and this is west. So that was minimized while here you had south, this is east and this is west. So this facade was always under the sun after 2 p.m. and this facade was always under the sun in the early mornings, meaning that there would be a maximum exposure to sun even in the summertime, where you don't really need the sun for heating purposes, probably for natural daylight, that's okay. But that the east and the west will cause a lot of heat gains that will mean you have to activate your mechanical cooling system in order to minimize the impact of the heat gains. So again, number 2 is the preferred solution in that case. Here we can see the different shots from the interiors and study of the sun path and the different solutions that we can provide to maximize the amount of sun, whether in terms of light or in terms of heat, that could penetrate this space. In this specific study, it was done for retail buildings, the deep floor plate of a retail building or deep floor plate of an office building. But as a matter of fact, it could be applied to different scenarios, whether in homes. The concept is just the same if you capture the orientation in a correct way. So regardless, I mean, these solutions, and I can talk about them. For example, this one is about, how to create a light shelf here in this area that could carry the light to a deeper spot. And this is also about the light shelves that you can create. This is the light shelf here. I'm gonna highlight it from inside. This is a clear story where the sun can, this is another solution than the light shelf to carry the sunlight to deeper zones or areas in the retail space or the schools or at homes. And you see that, or you see this, if this was a thermal mass, then it will have a good impact on the heating levels during the heating season. This is also another new light shelf combined with a new upper windows. These are improvements to the space that will increase two elements, the heat gains and also the sunlight. So this is a shot of a corner of the window. This shows one of the units inside the window. However, if you remember, I said that this face was facing the west. So the western sun starts to penetrate the space with its harsh sun, especially in the summertime, while this canopy, which is kind of void from the middle, will not have any impact, serious impact on the space inside. Now, to start with, the orientation here is not favorable because you're exposing the length of the building to the harsh western sun, while any solution in terms of canopies will not be as effective, because even if it was opaque, let's say this was a slab of some sort, while the rest would still be there. So, and the sun goes down that way, so it becomes too horizontal in the west, that this kind of canopy will not be viable to protect the space from this kind of orientation. So the orientation is the first and the most important thing that you have to do and to decide upon. It's like your foundation of a good design. If you don't capture that orientation, and I totally understand that it's not always possible, it's not always easy, but if you don't consider it and you overlook it, then you miss a very important opportunity to make a good impact from the site analysis point of view. So what we've decided to do is actually to switch the location from this to that. If you like to learn more about how to capture a concept that is creative, then you can follow that on the link I'm providing below in order to gain access to this. I think it's 4-part video, very brief, very precise, that will put everything in context so that you are capable of all the elements of how to capture a design concept, being green, being functional, and being aesthetically capable. Again, and I stress that upon all the students and intern architects, without a design concept, the design will not rise up to the level of being architecture. Later in life, you might not be facing design all the time, but that's fine. At least if you have the base for a good design practice, then you'd be able to capture the concept in any situation for any typology of project. Thank you very much again, and wish you all the success.